This is Spreaker Web Radio.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is an attack warning. Repeat, this is an attack warning. Attack warning means that an actual attack against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.
Chemtrails, GMOs, vaccines, occult worship, eugenics, fluoride. These are just some of the ways that the globalist criminal elite are trying to kill you. To find out why, www.thebenfellowsradioshow.com. Total resistance against the New World Order.
It's Saturday, it's the 1st of December 2012, and joining me tonight is my very special guest, Deborah Tavares from RefuseSmartMeters.com and StopTheCrime.net. Deborah, welcome to the show again.
Well, thank you so much, Ben. Yes, we're talking right now, we're in Northern California where we're having some weaponized weather events conducted on us right now, and what we're seeing is flooding and the anticipation of landslides.
Yeah.
And they're talking about this happening in some of the rural areas, which is all part of UN Agenda 21, and the variety of ways that they're collapsing private property rights through property destruction through weaponized weather events. But tonight, I know, Ben, we want to talk about the planned attack upon all of our countries globally, and we know that in their own words. I can't emphasize enough. On our site, stopthecrime.net, we have source documents, and one of the most profound source documents, only 41 pages in length. Everyone needs to read it. It's the Silent Weapon Quiet War document.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing. And for those that haven't read it, it's important to know that this was declared by the international elites at the Bilderberg Group in 1954, and it was a policy adopted, and they are declaring war upon the people, and it was to be kept quiet. And everybody needs to read this. This will fall into place with our discussion as we go through this today.
Brilliant. Yeah, because I downloaded that document, I think, when we first spoke a couple of months ago, and I was astonished. And I look around now and I can see exactly what they're doing. All these pathogenic frequencies flying around, harming us from your mobile phones, from all those iPads and things like that. I mean, we're in a soup, aren't we, Deborah?
Well, we are in, yes, humanity is on the brink. And what we now know, and what I want to urge everyone to do, we just put on stopthecrime.net the recent Jesse Ventura segment where they're talking about the Ozarks. And the Ozarks are here in the United States, and it's Oz, O-Z, Ark, Oz's Ark. And I urge everyone to go to stopthecrime.net under breaking news and watch this episode of Jesse Ventura. It will show you how and where the elites are going to go as they continue to poison the planet. And they're going underground. Instead of rats fleeing the ship, we've got moles going underground. And that is what's going to happen. But let's start by backing up and looking at what we know in the words of the military. We are under massive military attack because, as we know, the military-industrial complex is being controlled and run by the elites to do the destruction and to reduce the population by 95% and to gain control and slip us into the New World Order. And they're doing that through all types of methods. And the smart meters on every home, the electrical meters and also gas meters and water meters, is designed for full spectrum energy dominance. That we must keep off our homes. Initially, this is the one thing everyone listening right now can do. Keep these meters off your homes. And then I urge you to go to RefuseSmartMeters.com. And also, Ben, I know we did a segment on smart meters, so I refer everyone to that.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's on our archive on our website, and of course, we'll put links back to RefuseSmartMeters.com and StopTheCrime.net on our website as well, so people can just link straight through from the show.
Right. It's really important as we build into this NASA document that we talk about some of the Army documents, one in which was obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, and it is on refusesmartmeters.com. And it talks about the weaponized technologies used by the military. And of course, we know that the weaponized military technologies were first used heavily by the military for spying and battlefield applications. And we also know that the CIA became very interested in microwave technology many, many decades ago, and how they could influence our mental state in our brains. We also know that they could harm us without wounds or bleeding that way as well. And we know that the level of research and knowledge is profound, and it's not shared with the public. So the rollout of all of this is stealth, and it's deceptive, and it has happened, and for what purpose? Infertility, depopulation, mind control. We know Big Pharma reaps more profits from people who have more problems and difficulties from sleeping, depression, diabetes. Go on to refusesmartmeter.com and print off all of the symptoms that we are going to have and that are going to increase as we are being absolutely microwaved and frequencied to death here on the planet. We know that it increases the brain temperature, and we are under massive assault. So as you do a little research on some of those military documents, and then go to the NASA Future War document, which is posted on stopthecrime.net. It is entitled Future Strategic Issues, Fair Circa 2025. And we have to understand this is a master plan, and the timeline is now.
Right, because this is a real document. This is I can see on the top corner, because I've downloaded it, and I'm going to go through it with you, so we're all doing it together. So if you go to stopthecrime.net, download it now, pause us, download it, and come back and join us. You can go through it with you as well. So at the top here, I can see Dennis M. Bushnell, Chief Scientist, NASA Langley Research Center. I mean, this is as real as it gets, isn't it, Deborah? This is a real document.
Well, it is. It absolutely is. And a matter of fact, this document was presented in July of 2001, just a couple of months before 9/11 here in the United States.
Right.
And as we move through this document, we're going to find where they talk about intentionally hitting critical infrastructure here in the continental United States. But we'll move towards that.
Yeah.
So we're now on page 1, and we're flipping to page 2, where it talks about the topics are robots, cyborgs, and humans. And basically what you'll hear as you go through this document is the elimination of humans and the replacement of humans by cyborgs and robots. And at this moment, I wanted to ask you, Ben, if you've seen the Madness in the Fast Lane there in the UK. It's up on YouTube, and it's a very, very curious display of super soldier strength by two women that were in the motorway there in Britain.
Oh, yeah, I saw it. Yeah, and they one gets hit by a truck, one gets hit by a car. Is this the thing you're talking about? And then one jumps over a bridge back into the motorway. Yeah.
Yes, and after being hit by a car and being knocked out, the woman gets up.
That's right.
And then breaks free of all law enforcement and then jumps over the center divide into the oncoming traffic on the other side of the motorway. Yeah. So that's Madness in the Fast Lane, and so I think we might want to link to that just to show the super strength as we move through this document of what is ahead of us.
Sure.
But I can tell you on page 3, these are some of the organizations that are involved in this massive plot against humanity. We've got the U.S. Air Force. We've got the National Research Council. We have got the Atlantic Command. We've got the Australian Department of Defense.
Yeah.
We have got the National Reconnaissance Office. We have DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency.
Yeah.
And we have the CIA, the FBI, Southern Command. We have got many training and doctrine command. The list goes on, and the acronyms are listed there, and people need to look and see just who is involved. We have literally been deceived by all the agencies that we thought were out for our best interest. They are not. We're in the crosshairs. On page 4, what I want to point out is that on the second bullet, it's very, very important to see that all of what we're talking about, Ben, is based in all cases up on existing data, trends, analysis, technologies, and they say, quote, no pixie dust. So what they're telling us is that they have all of the technology and everything back in July of 2001. And everything that we're going to be talking about is available and was available to them then.
So what they're saying then, just to be clear, is they're saying, look, here's what in this presentation you're going to hear a whole bunch of stuff, but we don't have to use our imaginations. It's not like putting a new spaceship up in space and you have to say it's going to do this and that and the other, because that's really all kind of, pie in the sky, isn't it, until it happens. They're saying they have the technology right now to do everything that's going to be in this presentation. That's it, isn't it?
That's exactly it, and that's why we want to discard the word future as the title for this document, where it says future strategic issues and future warfare circa 2025. It is now. That is the important underscoring. It is available now. Everything we're going to talk about was available in 2001, and we can only imagine, Ben, how much advancement has been made since 2001. Now, because we have many, many important topics through this document to discuss, I'm now on page 7.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about how they're talking about technology and nanotechnology, and the revolutions are changing now in scales of months instead of decades. That cannot be underscored enough. We know that right now we are being taken down. This is a tyranny through technologies, and it is on steroids. And they say that on page 7, changes occurring in scale of months instead of decades. Now on page 8, those that know that global warming was a hoax, you can look at many documents. You can read the Silent Weapons Quiet War document. You can look at the Iron Mountain report that JFK requested back in 1961. You'll see how they brought about mass pollution. So to gain an understanding of why it's a hoax, I recommend the Iron Mountain documentary or download the PDF on stopthecrime.net. But now we're on page 8 of the NASA document. NASA is saying, Spaceship Earth, the crew are plundering the ship's supplies, tinkering with the temperature and life support controls, still looking for the instruction manual, engaging in bloody skirmishes in every corner of the vessel, increasing the size of the crew by 2 million per week. NASA is engaged in the lie of global warming. So this is the basis of which the deception and the terror is being built up on. So we must understand the elite must control us through terror. And we must know that it is not a global warming event that is underlining and the basis of all of this green movement, that we are all finding ourselves being relegated in. They're trying to create massive fear. We're polluting the planet. We're plundering it, as they say on page 8 in the NASA document. Then they have, on page 9, they say, humans have taken over and vastly shortened evolution of the planet. We've caused global warming, pollution, and deforestation. Now, I want to stop right here at this word deforestation. People think it's about forests. They are denuding everything that is green. The chemtrails, the toxic chemical dumps globally, all over all of us, is poisoning the food supply. Everything that is green. And yes, they are deforesting us as well. and they talk about how the human species, they must modify us. They are going to disable us chemically and change us chemically, redesign us and repair us, because we are now not capable of continuing to live on the planet in our current form. And when they talk about the mind children, they're talking about artificial life and transhumanism. That Moravec is a doctor, and he is deeply invested in transhumanism, where they're conducting experiments at the Mind Institute in Davis, California, where they have been sending children that have autism and have been experimenting on those children. And of course, we know that autism is a landslide. It's an epidemic. And we know that those children have been tinkered with, and that this is all part of transhumanism, tinkering, and it is horrific. And they talk about the breeding of us and the directed evolution. This is a freak show that they're talking about. And as you know, Ben, they have the glowing rabbits from tinkering and cross breeding jellyfish with.
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing. And, you know, I talk to a lot of people, and people just won't or maybe don't want to believe what's going on. They're quite happy. You know, one person says to me the other day, yes, but Ben, ignorance is bliss. And I went, no, it's not. Ignorance gets you killed.
Well, it does. And what is so important about understanding is to get out of the fear, because this is happening to all of us globally.
Yeah.
On steroids, as we just spoke about, and people are going to collapse and have mental breakdowns, and that is going to be very dangerous for all of us. It's like when you need to jump off a ship, you need to be told to dog paddle.
Yeah.
Well, we need to dog paddle, because otherwise those that don't know what's happening as these technologies and this assault upon us increases, and as we go through this document, you will see it is going to increase. Mm-hmm. And we have to understand it, so that we don't jeopardize our neighbors, our friends, our communities. It's our responsibility to know what's going on. We are being warned. We have been warned. They think we're stupid farm animals. And for those that do not want to learn, they say they can stay on the farm and they will be exterminated. Read the Silent Weapons, Quiet Wars documents. They laugh at those that will not learn and read their words. Yeah. They have told us. So now we're on page 10, and we see a lot of vilifying of the United States throughout this document. The U.S. is absolutely in the crosshairs of this technological takedown, and with all of the weapons being just absolutely targeting the United States. They say that the United States is now declined in the gross national product, and that we are only 70% of the U.S. research is now commercial as opposed to government sponsored. And we're flipping to page 12. Again, everybody look at this for yourselves. They talk about the technological ages of mankind. They say that through 1950 to the year 2020, that we are in a technological transition and evolution. And then they say beyond that are biotechnologies and nanotechnologies, and virtual is robots.
Yeah.
And then there's a robot city here in the United States, and Carnegie Mellon has been behind a lot of the robot experiments. People can go on to the Carnegie Mellon website. Mm-hmm. We also have a link to that. We have a lot of information about the hidden robot city, and it is unbelievable. They have a museum set up for robot enthusiasts, but they only show old models.
Yeah.
And the robot city is set up next to a river so that they can test the robots underwater as well.
Yeah.
Now, we're going into page 13 where they talk about the word virtual and they're talking about robots and the technologies of biochemicals and nanotechnologies with agriculture, everything. We're moving on now on to page 13. We're on one of the bullet points where they talk about everything is automatic. Robots will be in the large. Very important to understand. They're gearing towards robots. On page 16, what we need to understand is what is happening to our education, and that is intentional. They want us to be delayed with math and computers and technologies. Otherwise, in the Silent Weapons, Quiet Wars document, they tell us that we will understand their intention and how they're operating everything through computers. Everything is data-based and on algorithms. And they want to keep us stupid so that we can't unravel this horrific assault upon mankind. On page 13, you will see that there's a revolution upon society, that everything will be telecommuting, teleshopping, teleentertainment, travel, teleeducation, telemedicine, commerce, politics, and socialization. Electricity and wires will dictate everything we do.
Yeah.
They will gain absolute control over us as we continue to not engage, like you and I are talking right now.
Yeah.
People will be behind computers. They won't be engaged in talking. They talk about how the education will be they will be shutting down schools, and they talk about on page 18. On page 18, they talk about some of the predictions. 15% of all power today, now that was back in 2001, is used by computers, and it will reach 60% by 2010. So all the power will be used by computers by 2010, up to 60%. So they also talk about wearable implantables on people, electronics, communications, computers, sensory augmentation, health monitoring, and brain stimulation. Now we know that they're going to put sensors on every single thing.
Yeah.
They right now through Agenda 21 are doing a massive global inventory on everything, including us.
Yeah, I mean, it's when they were saying about sort of teleeducation as well. Is this also to sort of isolate us so we're all separate, not communicating with each other on a one-to-one level?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
and this is very critical. At this point in time, we must stay together. We must not separate. We must not allow all of the bells and whistles through the computers to isolate us. I cannot recommend a movie that we recently watched called Cabin in the Woods. It's a new release, Cabin in the Woods. Everybody must watch this. And you also need to watch a number of movies we've recommended on our website.
Yeah.
We also recommend that everybody read the book Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. We're not asking for people to do a lot of reading because we know that people are inundated.
Yeah.
And we've put many, many things on our website, short documents, lots of YouTube video clips, so that people can catch on quickly. We don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
We really do not.
Yeah, that's right, because what they do is they make us work longer hours, they pay us less money, they make us all worry about, the bills and the heating and electricity and all this kind of pressure is put on families. So when you try and tell someone, oh, and by the way, fluoride is is a toxic waste, they're going to go, I don't have time for this. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right. And we do have a website, toxicdrinkingwater.org.
Brilliant.
And I know there are many fluoride websites all over the world.
Yeah.
But again, we've put up very short YouTube clips showing EPA whistleblowers talking about what they have learned about the misinformation of fluoride. They're poisoning us in every single way, every single way. But now we're on page 19.
Yep.
AI at the top and beyond. That is artificial intelligence and beyond computing. Remembering that they have massive brain technology and studies. And on page 20, they say the United States Brain Project. There was a decade of brain research, and it begun in the early 90s, as they're telling us here in this document, the NASA document. And it was funded by 16 plus organizations and 5 agencies. And we're talking again about the Department of Defense, NASA, the Department of Energy, all of the departments that we spoke about at the beginning of this document. And it's important to understand that the use of technologies to study the brain, this is artificial intelligence that they have been creating. While we all have been hard at work, they've been busily replacing us. And we'll talk about that again as we move on. They've been brain mapping us. They've been overlaying our brains into cyborgs. They've been erasing memories and transferring our brain patterns to a particular, they've been doing MK Ultra, which we know has been mind control, erasing our memories, on and on and on. So they talk about many, many things throughout this document, but now I'm on page 24 of the NASA document, where they are talking about the demise of the U.S. underclasses. And this is through they're essentially eliminating education. They're creating a global educational agenda. Again, the intention is to keep us dumbed down through education and through toxins, so we won't be able to understand what they're doing to us.
Yeah, I think on the BBC website, there was an article a few months ago. It's still up there, I think, and I'll put a link to it on our website somewhere, where they actually said that they wanted 2 species, the elites and these kind of well, they had someone who looked very in the picture very disturbed, let's just say, so clearly again it's them saying, look, this is what we want to do, and here it is again, proof that this is exactly what they want.
Well, absolutely. The elites are taking over everything, and they are absolutely creating a slave class, and people think it's a slave class of people. The slaves will be the robots, not the people. They don't want us breeding. They think we are inferior. And they talk about this as we move through the document. Now I'm on page 26, and we're going back to the discussion on education. And we already see that private colleges and public colleges and universities are struggling financially. They're cutting core curriculums and programs. And they say in this NASA document that many of these universities and colleges will close due to web-based competition. And this is all by design. We know that the core curriculum that's being pushed forward by Bill Gates, who has, by the way, contributed $100 million towards this core curriculum, which, interestingly enough, will allow Microsoft computers in many, many colleges and even grade schools throughout the country, throughout the world. And we know that the national banking cartel, the global elites, the mafia, whatever you want to call them, are behind this core curriculum. They are taking us down. They are taking us down. It's very, very important right now. I'll add this because we know that they're implementing a kill switch on the internet. I can't emphasize enough. Go to stopthecrime.net and download those source documents, because again, these are not books. These are source documents. They're not large. Get them on your library shelves before they're not available for you to read. We know that Stanford is the Stanford University, all the universities, Berkeley, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, Yale, Harvard, we've all revered them, thinking they're wonderful Ivy League colleges. No, they have been setting us up for this moment that we are facing now. They've been setting us up. We now need to know that on page 27, the ultimate educational approach is going to be plug and play. They're going to erase our memories. They're going to create what they want. No choices, no free will.
Yeah.
They say that this will be direct silicone and other such devices connections to the brain, very rapid uploads, education in minutes instead of many years. Well, I'll tell you, folks, this is for the cyborgs and for the robots. They talk about on page 28, depopulating. This is a new world order agenda.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like the Matrix, isn't it? When they're all sitting in the chairs and they get that thing shoved into them, and then suddenly they can fly a helicopter, or they know kung fu or something like that. Is that what they're getting at here?
Oh yes. We're just getting into the beginning of this document, and so I'm racing through. I want to get to some of the things that just are shaking people to their core.
Yeah.
On page 30, the last bullet point on page 30 talks about the disruption of the massive amount of technology that is flowing down upon us. And they say that there will be societal disaffection and upheaval caused by the rapid technology and technical changes. And we're seeing it in road, air rage, psychological illnesses, withdrawal from society. We are being forced into mental institutions by being overloaded with control.
Yeah.
And that's what's happening. And it's isolation. Again, they're creating isolation, total control. They're shocking society with frequencies. They talk about this in the Silent Weapons Quiet War document, how they shock test societies, how they shock test the family. This is a biocrime. They talk about binary pathogens. What they mean by that is they are injecting us with vaccines and all of the fluoride, all of the toxins they're dumping on us are sleeper chemicals that are being introduced. And then when they add the second chemicals, that's when we will get very, very sick.
Yeah.
And they talk about all through the NASA document, the binary capabilities of what they're going to do to us. Yeah. On page 31, they talk about their concern. The elite's concern, they say of particular concern, are uncontrollable self-replication of robots and technologies and nano-replicators. And they're concerned about that. That's probably why, because many people I know, Ben, they ask me the same thing, why don't they just kill us off now? Yeah. Well, what they're telling us is they don't have full control of everything yet.
Yeah. So are we talking about here, the idea, I think, from Asimov was that once you've invented a robot, then you tell that robot to build you a robot, and so it's robots building robots. Are they just worried that once they set this thing off, the robots will basically, like in Terminator, that movie, take over?
Oh, absolutely. We're going to see as we move through this document, we're going to talk about a robot called the Chew robot, CHEW, CHEW. And we'll move towards that. But what I also want to bring you back to is the Silent Weapons document. This is pertaining to a quote they have in that document called, the Silent Weapons Quiet War. They say, quote, until such energy dominance is absolutely established, the consent of the people to labor and let others handle their affairs must be taken into consideration, since failure to do so could cause the people to interfere in the final transfer of energy sources to the control of the elite. So they are admitting, right and left, they don't have full control of it yet.
Yeah.
That's why they haven't taken us down yet. And what we must do is we must not engage in the data collection. Everything they're doing is being built upon computers and data collection and algorithms. They're running everything off of computers. We must not use credit cards. We must not engage in the information on each of us individually. We must limit the information we put on Facebook and not chat about our illnesses and so forth online. Pull away, disengage from their acquiring personal data on us. Do not allow it. People say, well, what can we do? That's an extremely important step.
Yeah.
We're on page 32 of the NASA document.
Yeah.
Again, the demonization of the United States, where they say the U.S. produces only 18% of the world's GDP, and 70% of the research is conducted offshore. And the U.S. is $400 billion trade deficit. They talk about 32 other nations devote a larger percentage of their GDP to research. The U.S. only saves 3% of their savings versus 30% in Asia. The U.S. is 13th out of 30 student math and science scores. It's very important to know. The United States has had a lot of bomb testing in Nevada, and the radiation has taken down our test scores in math and science, and they're dumbing us down through the educational system as well. They are setting up the United States for a massive hit. Their concerns of a nuclear hit where the rest of the world will say, go get them, because we have the international bankers have taken control of the United States. We do not have a government. Everyone listening, the United States, the citizens, the people of the U.S. don't want these wars. We don't want other countries bombed. We don't want civilians and villages bombed and destroyed and people killed. We have been taken over. And you can see that by what the NATO and the UN is now controlling the U.S. industrial complex, and this was revealed to the Congress. And you'll see clips on the site, and you can Google Congressman Sessions, Sessions, of the United States, being told by Panetta that the war powers will seek approval by the United Nations and the UN. We have been taken over. I want to talk on page 34. You can also Google spider goats. When I first Googled this a year ago, I used to raise goats. I thought, oh my goodness, what are goats going to look like? Well, they look like goats. But what it is, and it says here in the NASA document on page 34, spider genes in goats allow spider silk spinning from the goat milk, and they are making a biosteel that is 3.5 times the strength of fibers for armor. So you can see that they have been creating all kinds of weaponized takedown of society. Again, you're going to have to go through this document slowly, Ben. I don't know how much time we have here, but I'm really anxious to get to page 41, where they talk about sensors being used in swarms. They talk about smart dust, combined sensors and communications and power supply, floats in the air currents, nano tags placed on everything, everywhere, identification and status information, and they're going to co-opt insects. They're going to, again, I said earlier, they are inventorying everything on the planet, and they're going to be able to place sensors on us through aerosols. On page 42, they talk about some explosive smart dust opportunities. Optimal positioning of explosive dust, air explosives, formation of explosive lenses. And they say the infiltration of deeply buried or other such targets.
Yeah, that's right. We've had quite a lot of experience with this these dust particles, because what they can do is they can drop a bomb on you or can spray something over you, and you inhale this dust, and then this nanotechnology apparently goes to work killing you. You know, which seems absolutely incredible, but it's very real. You know, it's something they have, so we know about that already. Yeah.
Well, we do. And on page 43 of the NASA document, here's what it says, and I quote, microdust weaponry. a mechanical analog to biomicron-sized mechanized dust, which is distributed as an aerosol and inhaled into the lungs. Dust mechanically bores into lung tissue and executes various pathological missions.
Yeah.
A wholly new class of weaponry which is illegal. Now, I want to, at this point everybody to stopthecrime.net. I linked to a horrible assault on a town in Libya where they've unleashed genocidal horror upon this town. Everybody needs to look at the assault upon this town and what they're doing to these people. This is the NASA document and the strategies of warfare being put in place now. They are killing the town. They are dropping phosphates on these people. They're dying without even being shot with bullets. The militia is rampaging, raping, pillaging, plundering. They're mowing down the houses with tanks. Those that flee into the desert unprepared and have been out into the desert for over a week are trying to return to see if there's anything left of their town, and the militia is strategically placed around the peripheral. They're mowing down these returning refugees with machine guns. I urge everyone to read this document. It is just horrifying, and this is being done intentionally, and this is what we can expect to see globally. We're now moving along with this NASA document. There are many, many horrific things to read on page 48. They talk about the variety of weaponries and EMP, which is an electromagnetic pulse. They talk about psychological warfare against sensors and mines, fuel, the air and dust. They're just, it's just unimaginable. RF, radiation frequencies, chemicals, biologicals.
Yeah, it's a big list, isn't it? And it's I mean, I think, you know, with the EMP is that you know, obviously that you get that when you let off a nuclear weapon, but they're obviously trying to or have developed a way of delivering an EMP. So if you go over a city, I imagine what you're going to do, say Las Vegas, they're going to explode their EMP or set it off. Las Vegas will go completely down, electrically, you know, everything, computers, washing machines, everything. And then really you've taken them over without actually having to land. It's very simple.
Well, that's true. And unfortunately, when we compare how the United States withstood the Depression back in World War II, there were over 3 million people plus that died because of food shortages, and we were hooked to farms and agriculture. They've intentionally eliminated our ability to survive, and we're now, you know, it crammed many of us in cities without the survival skills necessary to even grow a garden to sustain ourselves. Yeah. So what we must do immediately is to become as self-reliant as possible. Know that when you dial help will not be on its way. It's going to be up to us individually to create as much self-reliance as possible, because it's coming. And being self-reliant is empowering, and it gets us out of fear. And they want us into fear. They want us to succumb to their saying, well, come into the FEMA camp where we will protect you from the looters and the vandals and all the people that are hungry and pilfering and raiding the stores and markets. So we have got to create a greater level of self-reliance. On page 50, they talk about the effect of low-power microwaves. They talk about the behavioral performances. It'll cause seizures, growth alteration of brain function, 30% to 100% increases in brain blood flow. Now, what I want to talk about right now is the deployment of cell phone towers and antennas all over all of our countries. I know it's happening where you are, Ben. It's happening all over the United States. We see thousands of cell phone towers lining our major highways. We simply will not be able to travel. What they are doing America's being taken down by known frequencies that do, of course, cause brain injuries, as we talked about in that document.
Yeah.
And we are witnessing a deployment of a wireless dog fencing via the cell phone towers along all of our major highways nationwide. And many people will become too sick to travel. They won't be able to drive on the highways due to the massive microwave frequency exposures and from the cell towers and the weapons that are being used to incarcerate us, surveil us, and microwave us to death. We are being bombarded by the controllers. They know exactly what they're doing. And strokes and heart attacks are fingerprintless, and they're doing this intentionally. There's an excellent book by Brzezinski, and I, will post that up on the site. There's actually an excellent quote out of that where they acknowledge that frequencies will create strokes and heart attacks, and it's fingerprintless. So it's all in front of us. They are telling us what they are doing, and we don't need to question it. We need to prepare. We need to become self-reliant. We need to know they're digging underground. Go to that Jesse Ventura. Understand what Ozark means. Understand that they are preparing, and they're going to turn hell on earth overhead as we go through this NASA document. We will see on page 53 that they talk about different viruses weaponized by the U.S. and the USSR in the 50s and 60s, easily transmitted via aerosol. Highly infectious, but they say it will have a low fatality rate, that there will be 1 to 5 days of incubation, a 3-week recovery time. It's been tested on humans in operation. White coat, no treatment is available. So they'll be making us sick on top of destroying us with frequencies so that we won't be able to function. On page 52, they talk about the binary agents will be distributed via imported products in our vitamins, clothing, and in our foods.
Wow, it's incredible, isn't it? So really, they're using everything. I mean, we have heard of the heart attack gun, which fires a pulse or an electric frequency at you, and it causes a heart attack. Again, that's fingerprintless. You can fire that thing from anywhere, I imagine. So it's coming through our vitamins, our clothes, it says here. It's an amazing document, Deborah, because really we should have 2 hours really to go through it slowly and really just, take it all apart. But this is really interesting stuff. Continue, please. It's amazing. It's blown my mind.
Yes. Well, everyone needs to get this out. And Ben, what we'll do is we'll attach this radio show to it as well.
Right.
So that people can hear this radio show as they look at this document.
Yeah.
We've spent some time on it, obviously, looking at what some of these acronyms mean. And I can tell you that it is just amazing. On page 55, they talk about what is apparently legal. They have microwave radiation frequencies, chemical weaponry, chemical psychological effects, again, chemical weaponry, psychological warfare, acoustic weaponry, which is sound, mechanical, microdust. All of these things are now legal. They talk about on page 56, again, atomic boron, carbon, hydrogen, non-nuclear explosives, weapons of mass effect. We're moving quickly because there's some of these that are just so unbelievable. On page 58, again, they talk about EMPs throughout this document, electrical magnetic pulse, which takes down our infrastructure, lights, power, everything goes down, and the cities just collapse. There's an excellent book. It's called 1 Second After. I do recommend everyone reading it, although it is set in a fiction format, but it is talking about what an EMP would look like, and I recommend everyone reading that quickly. They talk about how there'll be the smart dust, again, the explosives. They'll target and explode hazmat trucks, chemical plants, oil storage refineries, etc. They will use biodispensers, anti-people on things and plants. That's nerve gas.
Yeah.
They in this NASA document, they discuss how they will use blast wave accelerators. Now, you can do some research. In the 40s, they were creating the ability to create tsunamis and wave disruptions, and they were actually looking to do that. They felt that that would create as much a damage and psychological disruption as the atomic bomb. And again, this is just all high explosive technologies that they talk about.
Sorry, Deborah. So do you think that Fukushima was a test, was a beta test for like a man-made tsunami, or do you think that was a natural occurrence?
Well, it's not what I think. It's what I understand to be the case when you look at the documents and you look at what occurred with HAARP.
Yeah.
There are many YouTubes up discussing that. You can go to our website, toxicsky.org. You can look at genocide from the sky. You can see how HAARP plays in weaponized events.
Yeah.
You can also look online at some of even Jesse Ventura's most recent exposés about HAARP. Look at that. It's all weaponized.
Yeah.
They are absolutely weaponized attacks on us in multiple ways against, again, it's all fingerprintless. They do it in a variety of ways, so it's fingerprintless. Look what they did to the eastern seaboard here in the United States.
Yeah.
They just attacked the eastern seaboard with a weaponized weather attacks. It's unimaginable what they are doing, and they are doing it.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yes.
No, carry on.
Okay. Yes, they talk about all the variety of delivery systems. I've moved on to page 64.
Okay.
Global targeting capabilities. It's very important to understand when you go through this document. This is not only directed to the United States, which you will see referred to as CONUS, CONUS. People are reading it as CONUS. That's continental United States. This is global. They're talking about payloads and delivery systems. They're miniaturized. They're affordable. This is weaponized attacks on the cheap. They talk about the range enhancements, how the delivery systems will be enhanced. They will be able to attack from long distances, far distances. On page 65, they talk about internet technologies, of course, IT, biologicals, nanotechnologies, the effects of all of that. Again, all the sensors. They talk about robots and automatics in the large. They're going to absolutely create psychological warfare with robots. We're going to see all of this stuff. They are going to have miniaturized satellites, and things are going to be unmanned. We're talking about drones. We know all of this is happening now. This is in this document. On page 66, and I'm going to read this verbatim. Page 66 of the NASA document says, quote, "Increasingly critical are human limitations and downsides. We're too large, too heavy, too tender, too slow physically and mentally. Humans require huge logistics. What that means is huge costs. Humans have rapidly decreasing to negative value added. They are replacing us with robots." And then on page 67, they talk about robotics in the large. They talk about how robots save lives, enhances affordability, redefines the risk and threat to the environment, and enhances effectiveness.
Wow. So robots are good, humans are bad, basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's where they're going with this kind of thing. So, but hold on, how do we know? I mean, so it's going to be a handful of elites, a few thousand people, we think, maybe, and then what? Just the rest of the world filled with robots doing their bidding, and then they can be in the countryside all on their own and live their lives. Is that what they're talking about? Eventually, that's their end game, perhaps.
Well, as we move through this document, they are replacing us with artificial intelligence.
Sure.
The reason, of course, for that is they want to eliminate the higher consciousness, which we as humans have.
Yeah.
We can think, and they want to put a lid on our ability to grow and to become all that we as humans are capable of being. They cannot control us. They want maximum control. We can think. We can fly with our imaginations. We can invent. We can create. All the elites can do is steal, kill, and control. They are stealing our inventions. They are stealing our creativity. And they want to control it all by controlling us completely, by eliminating us and replacing us with robots that they can control. It is again on page 68. They talk about more reactive than humans. They again comparing us with robots. Robots have greatly increased tempos, greatly improved sensors and data fusion, greatly improved accuracy. Again, it redefines the risk and minimal casualties. Oh, it's very important for me to explain what the CNN syndrome is. That's psychological warfare. CNN is a major news media, which has been a psychological warfare front. You can watch the video, the YouTube, called Psy War. And we have that posted up on our site. And it's important to understand that we've been given disinformation, that now they're unleashing all of this on us. I'm moving along because there's some parts in this document I want to get to. On page 72, non-explosive warfare, they talk about psychological warfare in the large. Again, this is all fear-based. This is why it's important for you to understand what's coming our way so that you can move out of the fear. Understand they gain control of us through fear. They are going to be using microwave, chemicals, biologicals, the smart dust. On page 73, again, they talk about sensors. They'll utilize that on plants and animals and insects. Will be used as platforms, weaponized munitions. They'll utilize animals, even urban rats and insects as delivery systems. They'll be feeding, swarming, biting, and poisoning. This is all psychological warfare upon us. They talk about how on page 74, all of this is emerging. It's inexpensive. Numerous to hordes, clouds, and swarms. Again, psychological attack upon all of us.
Yeah, and it's we've been seeing it with the drone flights here as well, and the police have got their drones now. They're smaller ones, obviously they're not the big Reaper drones that the military have got, but we've just bought 5 more of those, so I think we've got about 10 or 15 now. So it's all and it seems to me, Deborah, that they're coming out now more and more. As we get closer to the new year. I mean, over what's happened, for instance, with the Olympics, and I said, that all the troops would be out on the streets, and sure enough they did that, because we knew that was what they were wanting to acclimate us to, was the idea of having troops on the streets. And what we did was we woke everybody up to the idea, and of course they were scared, which you should be when you see soldiers everywhere. So that kind of didn't work for them for the Olympics. And what we're seeing now with institutions in this country, collapsing, the BBC collapsing in front of our eyes. It's unbelievable. But this is all planned, isn't it? This is what they want. This is part of the collapse of society.
Yes, it is. And we must stay together. We must draw the line in our sand and identify ourselves. This is a time to understand who we are. We must have the moral character. We must understand and define who we are. We're drawing the line in the sand right now. This is our journey now. I'm on page 82 of the NASA document. I'm looking at our clock. Ben, I'm concerned because there's some very important pages I want to read.
Let's keep going.
They talk about unconventional nuke delivery. They're going to sink a ship offshore, detonate to produce tidal waves with radioactive splumes, which are plumes. They're going to be using balloons, ganged micro rockets, Trojan horse everything, ships, boats, planes, cars, trucks, packages, cargo containers. The targeted effects include tidal waves, EMPs, earthquakes. They admit to the earthquakes, the radiation blasts.
Yeah.
So when we talked about Fukushima earlier, and they admit to all the capabilities here in this document. On page 81, they're going to take down the auto industry, the power grid, chicken farms, all movements, everything. They're going to target everything. Railroads, all freight cars network, everyone, just in time. No stockpiles. They're going to just hit everything.
Yeah.
I'm moving on because they talk about on page 86, future warfare on the cheap. All of this is cheap. The binary, all the non-lethals making us ill so we can't function. The sensors, the mines, the blast wave accelerators. All of this is cheap. They can take us down very, very cheaply. They talk about warfare on the cheap. It ensures almost every nation or sizable organization that we can all be very worrisome. Again, on page 89, they talk about hordes and swarms, EMPs, the sensor web. We know that we've got the Spynet. They're going to tag everything. Detonations offshores, everything. On page 890, again, jammers in the large, lasers, they're going to blow up things. Software is Trojan horse, viruses, chaos.
Yeah, and this is all to keep us in fear, so we're controllable, because we'll do whatever they say then. So they'll say, come to the FEMA camp, or in our case, into one of these big super stadiums that they've built everywhere, and for entry, I suppose you're going to have their vaccine, you're going to have to be chipped, you're going to have certain things to get food, to get water, to get, shelter, and this is how they're going to get us, I reckon.
That's exactly right,
Yeah.
And that's why we must become as self-sufficient as possible. That's why we must have water and food supplies. We must join together. We must stay together. We must communicate. We must talk. We must create an awareness about what they're telling us they're going to do.
Yeah.
On page 93 of the NASA document, it says, exploit the CNN syndrome. Sink carriers via swarm attacks. Capture, torture Americans in living color on prime time. Terror attacks within the continental U.S. with binary biologicals. They're going to attack critical infrastructure, take down with EMPs, frequencies against our brain, serious psychological warfare, collateral damage, and exploitation. I want to again remind you, this document came out in July of 2001. On page 93, they talk about attacking critical infrastructure. Well, they did. They did 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah. And we all watched it, didn't we, on TV?
We certainly did.
Yeah. So
We certainly did.
yeah.
We've got to know what's ahead of us. It is just going to be a mind bender. They say that these attacks, it won't be survivable. They'll runaways. They'll find. It's just unthinkable.
Yeah.
Everything again will be telecommuting. They say on page 99. This is the trends summary. Telecommuting or tele everything. They say the U.S. just one of the crowd economically. Warfare on the cheap. Many potential peers. Warfare increasingly robotic. Survivability, affordable power projection via deep water subs and blast wave accelerators. Continental United States and logistics defense. increasingly worrisome. Well, they're going to attack us. They're going to attack everybody.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable, isn't it? I mean, and the thing is that it's right in front of us. None of this is hidden, is it? I mean, it's right there. There's a document from a Colonel Lemnitzer, and he was talking about in the Cuban Missile Crisis, or basically saying, look, let's try and get the Cubans into a war, and the way we're going to do that, we're going to paint up one of our aeroplanes to look like a MiG. And we'll get that MiG to shoot down one of our aircraft, so the Americans will be shooting at the Americans. They put wreckage. They said they could have a submarine that could then deliver wreckage to the area, so they could see, the rest of the pilots could see someone had been shot down and all this kind of stuff. And that was simply to draw the Cubans into a war that would then get the Russians into a war. I mean, and we've got that document. That document is there, and this is the same thing. The documents are right here. This is what was this originally? Was this a PowerPoint presentation?
Yes, it was. And actually, they make reference to that choo-choo robot that I was talking to you about. And when you look at that, which we have linked on our site near the NASA document, it's in the same place as the NASA document. Yeah. It's a meat-eating robot. And the inventor of the robot is concerned because the robot gets its fuel from flesh and plants. And they say they're going to unleash these things on the countryside. And the inventor kind of jokes about once it gets the taste for meat, it's going to see a lot of humans running around.
Yeah.
And it says in the NASA document they're going to unleash these choo-choo robots to live off the land.
That means live off us.
That's exactly what it means.
Yeah. Wow. Why on earth would you invent a robot that would eat meat? I mean, I don't understand.
Well, they're destroying us.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way, isn't it? That's the only way to think about it. Otherwise, why would you do it? Unless it was actually just to take us down and to kill us, why would you do it?
Well, we know that there's an elimination plan, a reduction of the human population by 95%.
Yeah.
It's just that none of us could have imagined the fingerprintless myriad of plausible, deniable ways that this would be coming down on us. When you look at this NASA document, it is like a sick computer game. Again, that's why Cabin in the Woods is so amazing, because it really does illustrate a horrific computer game. There's another section in this document where they talk about just a few $1 million and a few people will be able to take down the entire United States.
That's incredible, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is absolutely incredible. This is not fear-mongering. This is information. Knowledge is the key. Knowledge is empowering. We must gain a thirst for knowledge while it is still there. We've got to spread this. We've got to tell our children when we see the jets overhead spraying us with toxins. They need to know what is being done to them too. We hear the jets. We're under a thick cloud cover here in Northern California today. And we can hear the jets back and forth above the cloud cover, spraying us and creating this weaponized, man-made, artificial weather that we are all experiencing. This is artificial weather.
Yeah, and here as well, they've been promising us we're going to be knee deep in snow for a couple of months now, and it hasn't happened. They've been saying, oh, you're going to have, on this weekend or that weekend, it's going to be the cold snap that we've all been fearing, and nothing so far. However, this week it may actually be happening here.
Well, we see jets flying over us towards the ocean, back and forth, like bees going back and forth, collecting their honey and going back to a hive. Oftentimes they won't be spraying over us as they head out towards the ocean, the Pacific Ocean, but they'll dump it over the ocean and then it wafts over us like a thin, cloudy vellum. It's a plasma. And then we'll see them zigzagging. They've been in force. We hear them constantly. It amped up. I was talking to somebody in Hawaii just a few days ago.
Yeah.
They were saying that the chemtrailing over Hawaii as of late has increased substantially. We're hearing that everywhere.
Yeah. It's the same here as well in London. We look up at the skies and it's a grid pattern. We see it now. I mean, people who aren't awake are looking up into the sky and saying, "What's that?" I mean, just everybody's seeing it now. It's obvious.
Now, I wanted to also let everyone know that we've posted an amazing talk that Brian Garish gave out of the UK just recently. And that's linked to our site, Stop the Crime. I hope that you've had a chance to see it, Ben.
Yes, no, yeah. I as soon as you emailed me, I watched it there and then, yeah.
Yeah, it's on our breaking news section on stopthecrime.net. I thought it was excellent. It really showed that we cannot use violence. When you look at this NASA document, people talk about, oh, well, we've got guns and ammo. We're not going to let this happen. When you look at the technology that they're going to aim at us, our guns and ammos are like the Indians with bows and arrows.
Yeah, exactly. And people have got to really understand that. It's about information and it's about learning what's going on so you can educate yourself and do something about it. Guns, and if it gets to guns and stuff like that, you've had it. And anyway, they practice with guns every single day. They've got the best weapons, they've got the best technology as far as that goes, and they practice. They're experts at doing it. Even if we have guns, okay, we may get out to the range and what have you, we might think we're quite good, but up against military people, I mean, unless you're a military person, you're not going to really last too long. And so I'm very afraid when I hear people talk like that. I just say, look, it's about information. It's about learning what they're doing, because we know that when we get this information out, they do change their plans. We've had this happen before.
Well, that's absolutely true. And we know that just with the NASA whistleblower, which was William Binney, he was that former senior NASA mathematician.
Yeah.
And he was quoted recently with his thumb and his forefinger close together, indicating a small amount. He said, we're that far from a turnkey totalitarian state, and everybody's a target. Everybody with communication is a target. And that is the fact. That is the truth of the matter here. They're taking away our currency. They want us all chipped, and they want us on trackable everything. Again, it's all about data. This is all based on data. You'll see that in the Silent Weapons, Quiet Wars document. Everybody watch the documentary, The Iron Mountain Report. Understand that JFK, John F. Kennedy, commissioned this report in 1961 to find out what the United States would look like if we should transition out of a war economy into a time of peace. And when John F. Kennedy found out what transitioning from a time of peace would represent, he said this, quote, "For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system that has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations." And he was assassinated shortly after that speech, and we have that entire speech on stopthecrime.net.
Yeah, obviously, it's a warning. And, they knew back then what was coming. We've got Carol Quigley's book, haven't we? I can't remember what it's called now. What's it? It's gone. Never. I hate that when that happens. Where he was an insider, but he basically came out and said, "Look, I've seen the plan of what they want to do and how they want to do it, and this is it." I mean, this week we've potentially lost the free press in this country. The Levinson report has come out, and that was supposed to be into phone hacking and illegal practices by portions of our press, and of course those people have already been arrested and gone to jail. But that doesn't seem to matter to the Levinson report. It's about getting hold of the press and licensing the press, and of course. if you don't agree with them, they'll take away the license. So, we are, a nanosecond here in this country about going into tyranny. It's unbelievable.
Yes, it is, Ben. And all I can say is it's refreshing to talk to you in the UK and to have your experiences related to us, because this is global.
Yeah, it's the same. That's the thing. And what's happening here happens in America, happens in Australia, happens all over the world. This is not about I think really America's going to be hit hardest, but we've already been captured. We're part of a communist superstate that we're trying to get out of. It's not going to work. So all these collapses, we see the economy collapsing in this country. It is being collapsed on purpose. They're going to be printing $700 billion dollars over the next 5 years. So they're printing money and stealing money in our gold as fast as they can possibly do it. We're just being robbed. It's as simple as that, and taken down at the same time. It's really out there.
Well, we've been pumped, and now we're being dumped.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're being absolutely robbed.
Yeah.
And then they're going to dump all of this war technologies upon all of us. And this is the plan. And again, when you watch the most recent Jesse Ventura, the Ozark, and you see all of the vast underground survival retreats that they have, they will disappear underground, and they will leave those of us to duke it out and to be, we'll be faced with the choo-choo robots.
Yeah.
And all of the nanotechnology, all of the dust. It's horrific. It is absolutely horrific. But what we do is we talk to one another. We divulge this information. We prepare ourselves with knowledge so that we are not caught in emotional fear. We've got to stay out of fear and link arms.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's go back a little bit and look at why NASA would be involved in something like this. This is all from Project Paperclip, isn't it? When they brought the Nazis over, and basically the Nazis set up NASA.
Well, that's absolutely true. This is all the global elite.
Yeah.
This is what we consider the criminal war crimes racketeering organization. That's who we're talking about. The most powerful people on the face of the planet, and they have disdain towards humanity. They created global warming. We are using too much stuff. They look at us and treat us as cattle.
Yeah.
And that is really one of the closing statements in the Quiet Weapons Silent War document, where they really talk about the very last thing they say is factor 6, cattle. Those who will not use their brains are no better off than those who have no brains. And so this mindless school of jellyfish, father, mother, son, and daughter, become useful beasts of burden or trainers of the same. And we must know that this document tells all of us what is planned. It's a build-off of the NASA document. We're just not ready to admit that we have been slaves and useless cattle. That's what the elite have thought of us for all these years, and we have been duped.
Yeah, I mean, they're the inbred psychopaths as far as I'm concerned. I mean, most of them anyway end up in mental institutions later on in life, which is a fact.
Well, they do, and they also say under the energy segment of the Quiet Weapons document that they say as far as the bookkeeper goes, it can be king if the public can be kept ignorant of the mythology of bookkeeping. They don't want us learning anything, and that is why they're dumbing down the education, because they know that we have the power to undo what they are doing.
Yeah, and that's the most important part, isn't it? Is that actually the power for this rests with us. Look, when I exposed G4S, I thought I was in real trouble for the Olympics, and I thought they'd come after me, do all sorts. People were saying, "Oh, your life might be in danger." In actual fact, they did nothing. They worried about their company. A billion quid got wiped off their stock price. They're losing contracts left, right, and centre. They'll be lucky to be in business in a couple of years. But of course, all the contracts that they were going to get have now gone to a company called Serco, which I think is the world's largest security company. So, on it goes with another company, but that's okay. We've dealt with one company, we can deal with another. And that was just me. Imagine what we could all do, or, a million of us could do. It'd be amazing. They don't stand a chance, really, and there's a lot more of us than there are of them.
Well, that's true. And it doesn't take all of us, because unfortunately not everyone is going to avail themselves of the information necessary for their survival. And again, it takes an awake few. We can stave this off.
Yeah.
We have the power to do that, but we must start getting uncoupled from the society that they've created so that they can have the massive control over us, because they can tip the stock prices. They can wipe us out in a moment. Again, it's all in the Silent Weapons Quiet War document. There's another document also, NWO for New World Order Exposed, 1969. That is a very important document as well. They talk about how they will create life out of a petri dish. And when they're able to do that, human beings will no longer be identifiable as human beings. They will become direct slaves of the state. And that is what they're doing. But they've gone steps beyond that now since technology has exploded. And they are now coming up with the robots. And we've got to always remember what Rothschild said: give me a control of the nation's currency, and I care not who makes the laws. And that's exactly what has happened. We have lawless courts, lawless laws, everything, all the laws they put in place are to advantage their corrupt agenda and their takeover of us. That is why we are stalemated in the law, in the courts. That's why the United States doesn't exist anymore. And there's great music. We've got to put this to music, too, and I know that you do, Ben, by starting your show out. Yeah. But I can refer everybody to listen to Paris' song, Paris. He's the singer of a song called "What Would You Do." We have that up there on our site. We have a favorite audio and video page. We link to some of our songs to sing to as we go through this unbelievable attack upon us, including some of the songs that they did in the most recent movie called The Hunger Games. Yeah. There's amazing lyrics and songs in that. We've been told Hollywood has been put in place. Hollywood is a sorcerous stick. That's what Hollywood means. It's been used by the global elites to illustrate their takedown of us. So now we can look at Gamer. That's another excellent movie. Yeah. Everyone needs to look at that. They talk about nanodust, microdust, computers operating the data. Again, we're being told in every way possible. We just need to understand what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, people go to the movies and they think they're watching a drama or they're watching just a great movie. What they're actually experiencing is propaganda. If this was, and then we keep getting told in the newspapers here, this is like, look at these pictures of World War II in the Nazi era and all that kind of stuff. It's acclimating you. They're saying, look, this is before World War III. It's going to happen to you very, very soon. And people are just thinking, oh, that's just a great movie or something, right? But it's not. It's propaganda.
That's exactly right. And I can only tell you, I look at the children, and I look into their eyes, and I don't see what I felt I was able to see as a child.
Yeah.
Because things have so changed so rapidly. And many people that have known about these conspiracies for decades and decades all say that this is on steroids. They've never seen it moving so quickly. Again, we have to stay out of the fear. They feed on the fear. We must not give them the fear that they relish and the fear to take away the consciousness that we can attain. We have the ability to be in a different place than they do. And we must be in that different place now.
Yeah.
Not in fear.
Yeah. Let's go. Any more of the NASA document you want to go through?
Well, we could go on for days, and I would love to do another segment with you on it.
Sure.
I think that we need to. We're going off into the document and doing lots of research on many of the phrases that they discuss.
Yeah.
We'll be talking about that and having links on our site. Again, we've looked at these wave technologies that they talk about, and we now see that that has been capable since the 40s.
Yeah.
So I urge everyone, read that document, look at the military document that we have up under our source documents on stopthecrime.net. It's the Fort Meade military document. Ben, there's nothing more to explain, really.
Yeah.
These documents say it all. I would leave by saying we must stay together, we must pray, we must know who we are as individuals. When I spoke with Ted Turner a little over a year ago, which you can get on YouTube, it's called Ted the Terrible Turner, and he said to a group of participants at a wine venue, at a winery here in Northern California. He said that there are too many people using too much stuff, and there's got to be a massive reduction in the human population by 95%, and that there's going to be massive food and water shortages. There's going to be chaos in the streets. People will be very hungry and starving, and they will start to cannibalize. And he said that National Geographic was filming that, although we've not been able to find their piece on this. But you can find the Ted the Terrible Turner on YouTube when we were there. And we've been warned, we've been told. And they're not going to escape any other direction than underground. We've talked to people in Colorado. Cave exploration by hikers has always been a sport.
Yeah.
And now the caves are being closed up. They're building iron grates. They're installing iron grates in front of cave openings that will not allow people to go into the caves. They say it's for protection of the bats, because the bats are getting ill when humans are going into the bat caves. Well, of course, we know that the rumbling and shaking under parts of Arizona and Nevada and other parts of the United States is because they are dynamiting vast underground networks of safety for the elite.
Wow, and we know here as well they're doing the same thing. There's huge up in Yorkshire. There's a huge underground base there. There's underground bases all over the country here. So we know they're doing that here as well.
Yeah, it's worldwide.
Yeah,
it's worldwide. I understand that all the continents are connected actually by underground tunnels.
Wow, that would be great if we could get some if we could get a document on that or something. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I understand it's all interconnected underground. I've not seen a document under it on that, but I've heard many people discuss that. I think as we become more aware of the vast planning for a likely nuclear event or just unleashing all these out of control robots topside, they'll seek safe haven underground. And again, this is a time that's going to define us, define who we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Deborah, thank you ever so much for joining us. Please come back again. Keep sending the emails, and I'll try and keep informing people as much as I can here. Let's just go through your websites one more time so people can get them.
Absolutely. We have 4 sites. We have refusesmartmeters.com. We have stopthecrime.net. We have toxicsky.org, toxicdrinkingwater.org, and we have smartmetersmurder.com. We've got postings of other venues that we've spoken with, PowerPoint presentations, lots of very, very important documentation and documents in their words. We don't talk about things that we cannot fully document.
Yeah, absolutely, because this is all about revealing the truth, and that's exactly what we're all about here, isn't it? Revealing the truth to people so they can take responsibility for their lives and hopefully save themselves, because, you know, when this happens, like you said earlier, no one's going to do it for you. You're going to have to do it yourself. So now is the time, really, isn't it?
It has been, and I'll look forward to coming back on the show again. Again, we're digging deep into a number of things that have recently surfaced. So you take care of yourself. We're all under this weaponized weather attack and everything else that's being thrown at us. So take care.
Yes, and you take care, and thank you ever so much for joining us today, Deborah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben.
Take care. Yeah. Deborah Tavares from refusesmartmeters.com and stopthecrime.net. I'm Ben Fellows. Don't forget to come to the website www.thebenfellowsradioshow.com. I'm Ben Fellows, and I'm signing off.
Chemtrails, GMOs, vaccines, occult worship, eugenics, fluoride. These are just some of the ways that the globalist criminal elite are trying to kill you. To find out why, www.thebenfellowsradioshow.com. Total resistance against the New World Order.
And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
The Office of Civil Defense has issued the following message. This is an attack warning. Repeat, this is an attack warning. Attack warning means that an actual attack against this country has been detected and that protective action should be taken.